Hello, Godridge. My name is Tom Dawes, and I am The Real Deal. The Real Deal is an opportunity for you to ask any question your heart desires. Have you heard something by the water cooler that you were too afraid to ask? Questions like, why do we actually do 360-degree reports? Every question that you were too afraid to ask, we now ask. You guys have tough questions. I have tough skin. Let's get to work. This week, we speak to Nisa Godridge and Shailesh Deshpande about the 360-degree feedback process. Nice to meet you. Hi, how you doing?
Thank you.
Nisa, hi, how you doing? I've heard some great things about you. Welcome.
Thank you.
So I've been given carte blanche to ask you any question I'd like. That's the whole point of The Real Deal. You can't stop me asking any questions. Why do we do 360-degree feedback? What's the point?
I think it's really simple. Leading others is super important at Godrej. We believe that it helps not only us be successful individually, but as an organization, you need leaders who can influence, who can inspire, who can motivate. And 360-degree is one tool that we have that helps us get that feedback on how are we doing on that parameter. So I think it's as simple as that.
Okay, so that makes sense.
Yeah.
But if it's that important, why would we need to do it every year?
Okay. So this is a debate that we have quite often. No one says to do it more than once a year, but we do have, people have suggested to do it every 2 years.
Yeah.
We run a one-year cycle for pretty much everything. And we feel that getting this data in every year is very useful, right?
I don't know,
for
a rapidly growing organization like ours, for most of us, roles and the context of the role changes so much every year, right? So it's always useful to kind of get a feedback from what you got last year, because things have changed, right?
Fair enough, but the whole process takes a lot of time, and I have a very short attention span, and I'm a very busy, important person. Why does it have to take so long? And why the form so long?
So I think, one thing that we have tried to do over the last few years is to be more granular, more analytical with our people processes. So if you want to generate good insights and high quality data, it will need some bit of investment of time and effort into giving that feedback, right?
So we can't make it shorter?
No.
We have made it as short as
it can
we can.
be.
Okay. In many companies, 360-degree feedback is used for developmental purposes only, easy for me to say. At Godrej, it seems like we have a hybrid approach for developmental and assessment. What's your case?
I think even if you look at industry practice, and practices vary, many organizations use it for both purposes. And I think, as Nisa said earlier, we use this as one input. And we don't think it's an either or debate. We actually call it a diagnostic process. A diagnostic process that can be used as an input for development and also as one input for important organization decisions.
Yeah, and just to put a little bit of color on that, it is used as one data point. We have most people have multiple 360-degree data points, so we don't take 1 year because sometimes 1 year, for whatever reason, can be an aberration. And really, we look much harder at the data point when it's either very low or very high, where we want to just make sure that that's right. And very often, we'll go back and get qualitative feedback from people to understand what the score, the number means.
Okay, that makes sense. But when I first started, Nisa, you said that every time you completed a 360-degree feedback form, you actually had to physically turn around 360 degrees. Is that still the case? Do you still have to complete, send, and do the turn? Is that like...
Yeah, well, we recommend that to dogs who have lots of energy so that they calm down a little bit.
But not the big dogs.
Not the big dogs,
Okay.
It's just for dogs like you.
Okay, should we do a 360-degree turn now?
Sure. How do you, like that? Like that?
Just, I mean,
Okay.
yeah, and then back.
Mics are going to come on.
No, yeah. Well, no, I think it's good. It's good luck.
180.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's do, No, I know. That's a fair point.
Do the 360 turn every 2 years if that makes it less
Once
work
every
for
2
you.
years. Okay, that makes sense. No, thank you very much for that. My cause needs work. So look, talking about actually getting the report back, we filled it all in. You get the report back. Again, they're quite long and they can be seen as a bit boring. How do you view that? What should we be doing?
I really think it's only boring if you consider it not valuable to you. I find the reports extremely valuable to give you a sort of reality check on how people are thinking of you, what they want you to stop, start, change. And, I don't find it boring at all. I think it gives you a lot of valuable information, and a lot of people have been asking, why did you put these percentiles sort of in? And, Shailesh and his team came up with that. And frankly, the first year I saw my report with that, it was very revealing. My 360-degree report, I tend to be in a pretty high percentile overall. But when I looked at my leading others score, I had a 3.8 or a 3.9. And it sounds fine, it's
Good
pretty
score,
much
yeah.
at a 4 because, we all like to round off to sound good. But actually, if I looked at it as a percentile, it was at about the 50th percentile. So actually, compared to other leaders, not just senior leaders, compared to
across,
Godrej as an average, my direct reports, which would include you also, didn't think I was doing such a good job. And that's a wake-up call, correct?
Yeah.
That as a percentile, you're one of the most senior people, but you're not really up there in the top, and that's something to think through and really improve upon.
So actually, sorry,
Yeah,
I think, just to add to what she was saying, what we have done, every year we get a lot of feedback, right? On this section, that section, can it be changed? And I think our attempt has been to say, how can the report get better, right? And percentile is just a lens. Like she said, raw scores gave a very small range. Even if you look at range of raw scores people got. So if you look at before percentile, let's say most of the scores would range between, let's say on 10 GCFs or 12 GCFs, all my scores would range from 3.3 to 3.8. Now, that's not a story. That doesn't tell me anything much. I can see some nuances, but the same data, if you see from a percentile lens, looks like some are at 80th percentile and some are at 25th percentile. And we have seen people really get up and take a look at saying, oh wow, while the raw score looks okay, percentile is giving me a much sharper range of what I'm doing well and what I need to do differently. So it's a lens, right? And to your first point, I have not met anybody who doesn't like to read 30 pages about himself or herself, honestly.
Yeah, in Shailesh, the 360-degree process was actually brought in by ABG, who still does it till date, who still, has used it as a tool to improve and change on himself. He's taken the 360 degrees, asked other people for feedback. So I think if he has this willingness to learn at this, even at his age and stature, I think we should all have the humility to learn. And actually, one of the things that I struggle with, and I've seen it, across the sort of my almost 15, 16 years of work experience, is that I see a lot of, and it generally tends to be men at that age of, 48, sort of 50, saying, I don't need to change, there's nothing to change, without the understanding that what got you here won't get you sort of there. So this is not, this is not a school report, and we're not the principals trying to catch you out, correct? This is actually a tool for yourself that if you are ambitious, you want bigger leadership roles, this is a tool to just help you get there, correct? And
so do we use this as a tool for promotions?
No, it's a data point, correct, that would play perhaps into promotions. But I'll give you an example. I had someone on my team who got an extremely low score one year. And, it was because that particular person was doing sort of a turnaround change piece. But if you looked at the 5 years of data, this person had been there a long time. This was it was a sudden drop, and the next year it was back. That one data point is going to make no difference. But if I have someone over 3 years who's getting bad data points on values and stuff, I'm not going to take it literally, but we are going to circle back and ask people, like, is everything okay? What is going on? So I think any decision, the way we do our promotions is that you go through a leadership feedback process. So it's a very qualitative, people are involved, correct? So it's not that we take your there's no system that we have where we put numbers in, correct?
Yeah.
Whether it's your 360 degrees, your performance, and then it comes out and says promote or not promote.
Yes,
So,
no.
so to think that, and frankly, you should be, if you are doing a good job, you should be very confident that you'll get the feedback. Like I hear, people game the system, people. Then how come that there's some people who get 4.5s and 4.4s and we know that they're not gaming
Yes.
the system? They're good leaders, and if you circle back and ask people they work with, they will tell you that qualitatively. The problem is we can't go and qualitatively ask
Do
for
it for-
thousands of
yeah.
people each time. So
Yeah.
you put it into a form
Okay.
and a process.
So one good score doesn't mean you get escorted off the building.
Absolutely not. Should
But-
I tell you about not one bad score? You mean?
No, but isn't that why isn't that why?
No.
No.
And I'll tell you, sometimes, especially when it comes to values,
Yeah.
you will get things highlighted in 360 degrees, and then we will definitely go and check back
Yeah.
on that with people. So I mean, I can put my hand on my heart and say that no one's ever been fired on a
Because of-
on a
Okay,
360.
that's good news. I've had a
Tom is relieved to
I've had a
know that. I
bad
can
year.
see.
No,
I've had a really bad year.
and I'll give you an example of myself. Earlier on in my career, when I was working on a turnaround, I actually got a 2 something score. So it was well below 3. ABG didn't fire me, so I'm still here. But I think there were two insights to that. One is that sometimes in a difficult or a particular situation, you will get a bad score. The other insight was that I had a long way to go in terms of influencing people, taking people along, and it was a wake up. It was a sort of wake up call. So it depends how you want to perceive. This is not to my mind, 1 year or one score is, if you have a growth mindset, it's not that you'll be walking around with it for the rest of your life, correct? This is just an insight for you to grow and for the organization to grow.
Okay.
Actually, what she said, I just want to build on that. One thing that we believe is in any development process, and we want people to invest in their strengths also, as well as their areas of improvement. But I think awareness and acceptance is the beginning, right? And what she just said is actually something throws the data at me and I become aware. And more importantly, I accept that, okay, this is something I need to work on. And 360 can be a very good potential tool for you to do that.
No, and Sailesh, some of us, like I was saying about other people, but I'm quite introverted, and year after year, I get in my feedback that you take advice from a small group of people. I think it's a perception, correct? I've not really, I do, but I am now actually saying that I have to talk to a few hundred people in the organization every year. We've structured it, we've
Yes.
put it into a process. So actually, the more senior that you get, the more seriously you need to take that feedback, and the more you need to,
Act on it.
change. And it for me, if you're an introvert, some of this is hard, correct? But it makes me more successful. It makes the organization more successful. And frankly, it's been such an enriching process to actually hear from more people and build change around that. So I think it's the way, when I hear some of this feedback, the way people, I'm like, it's the way we want to use
Yes.
the tool at an individual level, at a group level, correct? And getting rid of 360 degrees is, I still want that individual feedback, and I still, want to make sure that leaders are growing and changing. And this is the best tool that we have to get there. Is it the most,
Sure.
is it perfect?
Yeah.
No, but there's nothing that's really 100% perfect,
Okay.
right? So
Apart from me.
Of course.
Now, this is something that actually does come up regularly,
Yeah.
and it's anonymity. So many people don't believe this is anonymous.
yeah.
Okay, that smile reveals all. Is this anonymous?
Yeah.
Is it truly anonymous?
It is truly
Completely.
anonymous.
No,
Full stop.
completely
Full stop.
anonymous.
Done. Okay.
Nobody has
Yeah.
access to
Yeah.
who said what.
Okay.
Yeah.
Definitely
Yeah.
nobody has.
Yeah.
And we can both
Yeah.
vouch for
Vouch for that,
Okay.
including me.
Yeah,
I mean,
of course.
there's no.
She,
there's-
Sumedh,
yeah.
But
nobody
you
has
see it,
access
Mark.
to.
You see what I write about
No.
you.
No.
No.
Okay.
Do you think you'd still be around?
That's a good point. That's a good point. But if we wanted to forge a more open, honest environment in the business, maybe it shouldn't be anonymous. You know, what about more sort of open and frank feedback?
So we have debated this. It's like the 1 year and 2 year conversation that we go through. We just feel that as an organization, we're perhaps not mature enough to do this, especially in countries like India that tend to be quite hierarchical. We feel that sometimes more junior colleagues will not be as expressive if it wasn't anonymous. We've made a small sort of shift where we do put the names of people giving you feedback. There's some amount of choice you have in the people who give you sort of feedback. But, you know, I was chatting with Naveen, and he sort of, with the people he works with, wants to give the feedback very openly. So he's just going to put his name in the form. So it'll be Naveen, from Naveen, and this feedback. So if anyone wants to give that feedback and it not be anonymous,
the choice is available.
The choice is there to do that.
Okay, cool. And some people play politics and try and manage their feedback. What do you say about that?
I think you know, it's very, very hard to do. I've heard stories about, you know, someone sitting next to someone while they fill their 360-degree form. I've heard of people calling in other people and berating them because they got a bad 360-degree form. You know, do we know about 100% of these cases? Probably not. But I think people who are doing that, from whether it's 360 degrees or other data points, at some point it filters up, and basically they're just roadblocking themselves. Correct? So do we make mistakes on, you know, sometimes promoting someone with the wrong values? Yeah, we do. But at some point, for our culture to hold strong, at some point, if we're not correcting those things, and we do correct them, correct? And we do, so, you know, some people might get away with some of this behavior occasionally, but I think at a 98% or 99%, most people are doing this sort of authentically. And I would encourage people to do it authentically because, you know, you can game for a year and stuff, but in the long run, you're just going to get, because, for example, if I, you know, tell others to give me a really good leading other score and a person does it out of sort of fear, it might work once with one team, it's not going to work the next time with the next team. And most likely if you do things like that, we will hear about it, correct? Because people do, I mean, we hear about these sort of cases.
And do you have any final thoughts about your own experiences that you want to share about 360-degree feedback?
Well, I sort of found it hugely useful as a tool for myself. You know, I don't think everyone is going to come up to me necessarily and say some of those, even small things, correct, that help you be more conscious, like stop being on your phone, correct? I know that I'm being on my phone, but when 3 people write it, correct, and that we feel that you're not paying attention to us, and you sometimes don't realize, okay, you know, maybe I am the most senior person in that room, and it really matters to people. So it's from the small to the larger. I think it can really help you be more effective. And if there's one thing that I would look at in terms of putting people in leadership positions and stuff, is seeing those people who take feedback, grab it, and actually show growth from it. That's what, I think that's the data point that I would look at much more than the absolute score.
Okay. Shailesh, anything to add?
Yeah, actually, for me, and I think, as some of you know, I made a fairly major career change 4-5 years ago. I used to do generalist work, and I moved to specialist work. And some of that actually had come up in my 360, saying that, you know, what kind of work you should probably be doing, think about it. And anyway, I was in that process, but feedback like that, and then I connected back with some people, and that helped. So you do hear things which make you really kind of take a pause and think differently.
Didn't your 360-degree scores also change dramatically
did.
from doing the right? So sometimes a score is not a reflection of you as a person, but it could be that you need to be in another role where you're bringing your best self, out.
That
correct?
Okay. And now that I'm hearing this whole thing's been anonymous,
Yeah.
I have been scoring you 5s for the last few years, and I was wondering why I didn't get any champagne.
So
or anything.
that means the rest of the people reporting
Oh,
to me
dreadful
are
stuff.
wrong.
The averages were. It was
Ronnie.
dreadful.
my God.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, that's good to know.
Okay.
I'll
be sad not to have
I'll
your
score it
5
differently this year.
year. Okay.
Okay, good. So, guys, if I just to recap some of the points we've covered today. 1, it's completely anonymous.
Yeah.
2, this isn't a hire and fire.
Of course.
Like
process.
absolutely not.
Absolutely not. 3 is that this is a one moment. It's not a one moment in time. It's sort of taken across the years.
Yeah.
And to try and approach it in as sort of an open and honest way as possible.
Sure.
Anything I've missed there?
No, and I think the most important thing about 360 degrees is what we all individually do with it. So if the organization looks at anything, it's like, are you growing year by year? Are you able to lead others, influence them, get things done better? I think that's it's not the data point, it's the growth mindset that you have when you receive that
Great.
report.
High five. High
Thank
five.
you.
Thank you.
That was The Real Deal, guys.